Well, hello there. Welcome to the Obi Thorn Alliance. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Luke, and we're the YouTube channel that offers non-biased opinions from that of two different perspectives. We've got that of someone on the autism spectrum and that of someone who is not. If you like our content, don't forget to like and subscribe. We bring out multiple new videos per week. And today we are doing something pretty fun, and what's that?
We are doing our top 5 new shows so far of 2022.
Yes, so we're just beyond the halfway mark of the TV shows. There's some cool ones yet to come out, so we thought let's give a review on what we've seen so far. And you know what we've decided is we're going to only include new release shows. So we thought, you know, there's heaps of shows that have had, you know, season 2 and season 3 come out this year, and they've been really good. But you know, we already know they're good. Let's talk about what's new and what we've discovered this year. So let's get into the list. Do you want to go? So what do you got coming in at number 5?
Number 5 is a show called The Lazarus Project. What is on Sky in the UK and in Australia is on Stan. And the reason why it's number 5 and why it's on the list is I'm someone that loves sci-fi and time travel, and it scratches that itch, and I just love the concept of how, you know, this ordinary man is someone that is just living his everyday life, and then he gets wound up in this world, in this organization called the Lazarus Project. And basically the concept is that when there's earth-shattering events, the organization basically we'll reset the clock so we can undo it. And basically the main character is a mutant. He can time travel by himself because he has the cells in his brain. So this is a really cool show. Some writing doesn't really make sense because he needed to make the writers needed him to make choices so he would do things, so he would basically be bad in a certain way. So really enjoyed this show, highly recommend it, and well deserved to be on the list.
Yeah. Okay, I've yet to hear this show. Is it a limited series or it's going to get a season 2?
Hopefully it gets a season 2 because it ends on a cliffhanger.
Okay, cool. Might have to give it a look. So at number 5, I've got The Dropout. So The Dropout is a limited series that came out on Disney+. It stars Amanda Seyfried. We've reviewed this show. I really liked a lot of elements of this show. The ending was a bit rushed, and that's why it sits at number 5. Otherwise, it had potential to be a bit higher. Amanda Seyfried, I think, represents the character that she's portraying really well. If you compare them side by side, they look very similar. You watch videos, the two, their mannerisms are pretty spot on. So this show has some really good elements about it. A true story about a female who dropped out of Harvard and basically convinced the world that she had invented some technology that was not possible and managed to make a multi-billion-dollar company, which now has large ramifications on other female inventors in Silicon Valley. So a really good show, worth watching. You'll get pretty hooked on this, but I do warn you that it feels a bit rushed. You're probably going to have to do some research after, or you could listen to the podcast that came out actually before the show. So,
and then a court case is next month.
Yeah, so we're going to find out some new information about her. So if you like the show, watch it and then watch the court case and see what comes up.
So good choice.
So what do you got at number 4?
My number 4 is Archive 81, and I've talked about this show before. Unfortunately, it got cancelled. This is, in my opinion, Netflix best show of the year. I recommended it to Luke, and basically the concept is we got 2 timelines. One timeline is that the male character is being told, we want you to watch some footage by this rich man for unknown reason, because he's a tape recorder. He loves watching tape recorders, and then he goes to this mysterious place place and watches our other timeline, what's set in the 90s, because this burnt fires come down, and this has been the best mystery thriller show that I've watched / horror show that I've watched this year, and the two timelines are a really good way to it. And the timeline with the female, she's basically doing the camera view, and when it's focusing on him, he's basically our audience. We're watching it from his perspective, from us watching her. So he's basically our eyes and he is watching her. So really highly recommend this show. If there was a season 2, this would probably be number 1, but I can't reward it because it got cancelled, and I think Luke should watch it, and I would highly recommend it. Netflix best show of the year.
Yeah, I saw the trailer to this show. Jakey got me to watch it, and it does look very good. I've just been a bit turned off after finding out it got cancelled. It makes me wonder if it's worth watching it, or do I now just treat it as a limited series? So I'll make that decision.
Well, you know what Netflix are like. They love cancelling.
Do you think as a limited series it still works, or is it left on a cliffhanger where there should be another season? Like, it doesn't answer what you need to be answered.
You know what Netflix are like. They love making things have cliffhangers.
Okay. Well, I know it makes me less intrigued to watch it because it feels unsatisfying. It feels like I'm going to be wanting more and not going to get it. So that moves me to my number 4 on my list. And that is, I've gone with Obi-Wan. So Obi-Wan is, a continuation of the Star Wars franchise. This is, a long-awaited project. It was possibly going to be up to 3 movies, but instead we got a 6 or 8 part series?
6 episodes.
A 6-episode series. Lots of controversy around this. A lot of Star Wars fans either do or don't like it. I personally quite liked it. I think it combined the shows quite well, the movies quite well. It explained why Leia called upon Obi-Wan in A New Hope. I think it was entertaining throughout. I just think there was a lot of things to like about it, and all the complaints other people had seemed silly because, I think it was what it needed to be, and I think it didn't do too much and didn't do too little. It was just enough to patch a gap, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's my number 4. And what do you have at number 3?
My number 3 is a show called Severance, and this is an Apple TV show, and I think at the moment, because something else will take its spot, this is the best Apple TV show of the year that's new. And the concept of this show is that we have human beings that work for this company, and they get a chip in their brains, and they go to work, they work there. But the thing is, they basically have 2 lives, because when they go back to work, they don't remember what happens when they go to work. So this is the most ingenious concept I've watched so far this year. The main negative is that it started off pretty weird and strange in the beginning. So, but besides that, this is the best Apple TV show. Excellently cast, the acting, everything is amazing about it, and would highly recommend anyone watching if you have an Apple TV Plus account and really enjoying interesting concepts that are unique and you like different things,
So is this a limited series, or you think it's got multiple series in it?
Oh, it's been renewed for season 2.
Okay, interesting. I've seen the previews, like the pictures come up when I go onto Apple TV, and I'm intrigued by it because I believe is Adam Scott the main actor in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I quite like him, so I might give it a watch. Now that I've heard you mention it and talk about it, maybe I'll give it a watch. So that moves me to my number 3. So I've gone with Peacemaker.
Okay.
So Peacemaker, we get to finally see John Cena continue on with his character, which we saw in the most recent Suicide Squad film. The film made him out to be somewhat unlikable, but the show is the complete opposite. He is such a likable character. The show ticks so many boxes. I think it's probably one of the best superhero things I've seen, comparing it to MCU movies, to DC movies, comparing to all of those. I think it's really high up there, like entertaining, funny, unique. It's just great. the thing is, because it is that, it's kind of, it doesn't take itself serious. It makes it good, but it also limits its potential. So if you just want something different to watch and something that's, going to be fun, it's definitely that. And if you're expecting some kind of masterpiece that's going to change the way you think, it's not going to do that. It's just, cheap humor, but it's done well. It's done really well. So Peacemaker's my number 3.
My number 2 is a show on Amazon Prime with Chris Pratt, and it's The Terminal List. And the concept of this show, and basically he's a Navy SEAL operator that goes out with his team that's trying to take down this terrorist, and then the operation doesn't go so well, so him and this other Navy SEAL, the 2 ones that are remaining. And what I love about this show is that it has a good, simple storyline to it. It's basically about revenge, corruption, and just killing people. And I just think Chris Pratt does an excellent performance, simple storyline, and except for the other shows, this feels like a limited series, but if there's a season 2, the reward and the payoff is worth it. And that's why I think, even though the show that I put in episode 2 is probably better, I think this one is a lot more simple, and the payoff was well worth it. And I think it's Amazon Prime's best new show of the year.
Interesting. Heard a lot of people talk good stuff about this show. I'm not convinced. I think it's maybe just because I got so many things to watch. I think it's sadly just going to fall by the wayside. Maybe that's just because it's on Amazon Prime. Maybe I just feel like I'll watch things on other streaming services first. But I have a feeling I'll probably never get to see this, sadly. So that moves me to my number 2, and I've gone with Blackbird. So this is on Apple TV. This show has completely surprised me. It's a true story about a serial killer who is also a serial confessionist. He confesses to a crime, but is basically going to get acquitted of it because they're claiming that he was coerced into this confession. And this show, not only being a true story, because you probably wouldn't believe it if it wasn't a true story, they ask another convict to swap prisons and befriend this gentleman so that he can try and get a confession out of him and get him to reveal where these bodies are so that they can lock him away for good. And in return, this criminal is going to get his 10-year sentence cut down to as little as, I think he's been in jail for about 7 months at the start of this. But the catch is he's got a month to do it. And this show keeps you on the edge of your seat. The acting's amazing. Taron Egerton is just such a good actor in everything he does, and then the character that plays the serial killer,
Stingray.
Yeah, he's Stingray from Cobra Kai. So it's such different roles. He goes from being this
dopey,
basically a dopey idiot to being a serial killer, and this acting in this is unbelievable. It is so good. For Apple TV, they're very hit and miss with their shows, but this one's a definite hit, and limited series. So, it's 6 episodes?
Mm-hmm.
If you got some spare time, definitely watch this show.
Who was the one that recommended it to you?
And Jacob did recommend this show to me. Yes. So, what have you got? What's your number 1? We're up to it.
Do you want to have a guess?
Oh, I think I know what it is, so you tell the audience.
Number 1 for me is Peacemaker. I know it's probably not as good as the other shows, but for me, I'm a big superhero fan. John Cena, I think this is the character, his best role, his best acting performance, entertaining, has done probably the best DC show, and except for the Dark Knight movies, it's probably better than any of the movies. And I just really enjoyed the ride that we went on. It got renewed for the season 2, and I love how it tells a generic superhero story, but we get to see the villains in a different way. And I just enjoyed the ride of the story, and even if it didn't get renewed for a season 2, the storyline concluded and was still satisfying, and I would highly recommend watching it. And I want to see more. And James Gunn did an excellent performance, and yeah,
It's really cool to think with Peacemaker that it's an origin story, but not. So it's like current timeline, things are going on, but then we get, flashbacks and he tells stories, and we're getting an origin story without wasting a whole movie or a whole series to do so. We get to have action and fun now, but piece the puzzle together as we go. And I think it's a cool way of doing it. You don't always have to have an origin story standalone. Sometimes you can just kick off from where you are and then find out how that person became the person they are whilst on that journey. And I think they do that really cool. So that leads me to my number one. Do you want to have a guess what it is, or you already have an idea what it's going to be?
Oh, I think I know what it is. Winning Time.
Yeah, so it's Winning Time. I was surprised that Jacob didn't have this on his list, considering he's a massive basketball fan, as am I. Winning Time, I think, was just... I just think out of all the shows this year, is the one I was most hooked. I was looking forward to the episodes coming out. I was waiting, and every week when it came out, it was the highlight of my week. I loved, it's a true story. I think the way they've shown it's like that era that it was filmed in. They've done a really good way of doing that and making it seem, old but modern. The acting was good. I liked the breaking of the third wall, the talking to the camera. There's just so much to like about it, and I just look forward to it every week. And being basketball, being a sports show, makes it really good. And the thing is, everything that happens is new to me, because I've not been a Lakers fan and I haven't followed their dynasty, so I don't know what's going to happen. Where I guess maybe Jacob does, so it's not as exciting. But I'm not trying to ruin it. I don't want to find out any more information. I want the next season to come before I find out any more stuff about what happened. So it's making it really exciting. So to summarize it, which I didn't, if you haven't seen it, it's about the Lakers dynasty and basically following the rise of Jerry Buss, who's the owner, sadly deceased now, and basically Magic Johnson's first season, and then carrying on their dynasty throughout. So it's very good.
Very good, Glenn.
Any honourable mentions for you?
I did want to put in Winning Time, obviously, Blackbird, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Moon Knight, from so many shows, but it's a list and some don't quite make it. Like you said, with Winning Time, I just felt I already knew how it was going to finish, so I wasn't as pumped as you were, and you can't put in everything in the list.
For me, the only thing that didn't make it that was pretty close was maybe How I Met Your Father, which is not really a reboot or a remake of How I Met Your Mother. It's kind of set in the same universe and they kind of cross paths. I think at the start it came across as cheap humor and kind of a bad copy of the original, but then as it carried on, I think it got better. And I think once they started bringing back characters from the original show, it's made it a lot more exciting, and I'm pumped to see what the next season holds, because the first season had, I think there was about 8 or 10 episodes. It wasn't many. And I think they're now locked in for 24 episodes the next season. So we'll see what they can do now with more time. So that was probably the only thing that was close to making the list for me.
Well, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, there will be other videos at the end. Like and subscribe. Let the force be with you. Bye-bye.